Battle for Naboo, the final of a 3-game exclusivity agreement between LucasArts and Nintendo, with the other two of course being the surprisingly fun Star Wars Racer and the iconic Rogue Squadron. Now I think at this point everyone pretty much knows about Rogue Squadron for the Nintendo 64. Created by Factor 5 Studios, it's considered one of the greatest Star Wars games out there, and the game that of course launched the acclaimed Rogue Squadron series. And given how successful Rogue Squadron was, it's not too surprising that Factor 5 would also be trusted with the final Star Wars game for the N64. Thanks to the fact that Factor 5 had more experience with the 64 at this point, they actually sought to build on the Rogue Squadron formula and wound up creating a whole new game engine to remedy a lot of the issues they encountered when originally making it. The draw distances were massively improved, and the updated particle effects they utilized allowed for a better quality explosions, as well as the addition for rain and snow effects on levels that for the time looked pretty amazing. And to top it all off, the game even had air, land, and water missions. I mean, the additions they really made to this game were just pretty unreal to see all running on the N64. However, making the game itself wasn't all double suns and rainbows. You see, Battle for Naboo was set to release in December of 2000. Now, mind you, the GameCube was set to release in November of 2001, less than a year out. So, the common consensus was that most people at this point would probably just hold on to their cash and wait for the next generation of consoles rather than drop their money on a soon-to-be outdated game. To make matters even more complicated, Factor 5 actually already had a prototype GameCube in hand and had actually already created a rough demo for Rogue Leader on it. So Factor 5 was literally working on this game while at the same time looking at what would easily surpass it here in the near future. I mean, talk about demoralizing. And to add to the troubles of the game, when it came time to actually create the characters and story, Factor 5 stated that after watching and rewatching episode 1, they found it kinda hard to form any kind of solid story around vehicular gameplay. You see, a big issue Factor 5 found was not only does most of episode 1 just have nothing to do with what's happening on Naboo, but there really wasn't many starships or characters in the movie to really work with either. For the most part, they had to pretty much create everything from scratch while still having it somehow flow into the movie, despite there being pretty much nothing to go off of. Fortunately, they eventually had the idea to focus on an aspect of the movie that really wasn't talked about that much, but would make for an interesting basis to work with. Even though all the main characters and Queen of Naboo were off gambling over owning some kid, many others were still of course stranded on a droid-occupied planet. So why not tell their story? Their story of trying to fight back and resist the best they can. They wound up settling on a character named Gavin Sykes. You know, the man piloting the speeder that takes out the AAT at the end of the movie. And yes, you actually do get to play through that part in the game, which is really cool, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. Gavin is a lieutenant in the Royal Naboo Security Force, who, with his captain, Captain Kale, managed to actually escape the city of Thebes during the initial invasion, and eventually led a resistance against the droid army's occupation until the return of the Queen. Now in my Rogue Squadron video I talked about how as much as I absolutely loved the game, it didn't really ever have much of an overall story, instead focusing on little mini adventures that were kinda loosely connected, like working with Imperial defectors, saving Wedge from a POW camp, and eventually fighting over the Bacta supplies. All very fun moments, but not much of an actual story. This time, however, in Battle for Naboo, they actually went all out to create an overarching plotline with twists and turns, loss and hope, all leading up to its ultimate conclusion, which does make playing through it for the first time just a lot more interesting. Now the story is still rather simplistic due to what they actually had to work with, as we'll get into. However, compared to Rogue Squadron, it's actually a really solid story that serves its purpose quite well. But enough history, why don't we blow on that cartridge, grab an uncomfortable controller, and see what the final Star Wars game for the N64 has to offer. I swear, every damn Star Wars game. 1 second. So yeah, starting up the game you get blasted with the iconic Duel of the Fates music that I unfortunately cannot play thanks to, well, YouTube. Yeah, same to you, buddy. Fortunately, some of the music I should be able to use no problem, but just know that throughout the game, they really love to sprinkle in some of that John Williams magic throughout. So of course, like all good Star Wars games, we gotta start with the opening crawl. This time, going over how intergalactic trade has been hindered by taxation disputes between the Trade Federation and Naboo, and what that could mean for intergalactic commerce throughout the Republic. Just some really interesting and attention-grabbing stuff.
Right.
In all seriousness, it really just says the Trade Federation has invaded and Lieutenant Gavin Sykes and the Naboo Guard are the planet's only hope. Where have we heard that one before?
This is Captain Panaka. I am ordering all officers to clear the city at once. Do not engage the enemy except in self-defense. We don't want a war.
Ooh, run them over, run them over, run them over. Ah, pussy.
I copy, Captain. We're pinned down near RSF headquarters. We need assistance now. On my way, Captain.
So Battle for Naboo starts off with probably the most divisive part of the game, which is of course the speeders. You see, unlike Rogue Squadron, which was all aerial combat, Battle for Naboo had a major emphasis on ground combat, something that a lot of people were very much opposed to, thinking that it took away from what made Rogue Squadron so great, which is definitely an understandable opinion, and one that was definitely validated when they released the third Rogue Squadron game. We don't want to talk about that game. Like, not ever.
Press the B button. Call on the Force.
With that said, it's worth mentioning these ground segments are technically pretty impressive. From how well the speeder actually controls, how some of the droids will just ragdoll when you knock into them, and just how crazy it can be when you start seeing starfighters speed on by above you. Just some really impressive stuff overall, especially when you consider that all this is running still on the N64. So yeah, the first level being in a speeder was a little jarring for some, but the level is set up pretty nicely to help introduce you to it. You start by going through the streets of Thebes, taking on simple enemies like battle droids that can't really fight back too well, which helps get you comfortable with the controls and movement overall. As you move forward, you reinforce your captain, Captain Kale, who is pinned down by droidicas, which aren't really much of a problem here, just slightly more health and better guns. Easy to wipe out, though after you escape the courtyard, they do start throwing some AATs at you. You gotta love those missiles. Ooh, looky, a bonus ability, yoink. So yeah, the bonuses actually make a return from Rogue Squadron, except this time not only are some of them tucked away like this, but some actually require you to detour a bit to help some of the citizens of Naboo who will, in return, reward you with them. The bonuses are still pretty much the same, with some increasing shields, lasers, or giving you upgraded missiles. And like in Rogue Squadron, they are definitely needed if you intend on getting gold on every mission in the game. So after grabbing that bonus and fighting our way through the streets, we make it to a small arena with droidicas and a few AATs, but to be honest, they can kind of easily be destroyed with just a few more missiles. When we're done mopping them up, we find some heavy scaps, which are basically just larger versions of the droid speeders that we can use to escape the cities with. So the plan is to cross the farmlands and try to get to the swamps to attempt to build up just some kind of resistance force. But as we pass by the plains of Naboo, we begin to hear the desperate cries of the people just being slaughtered by the droid army. Man, that scream never gets old. I will say this hilly area does make for a nice area to fight in, even though the droid speeders can be kind of a pain in the ass to actually hit sometimes. But as the level goes on and you defend some innocent farmers, you also get some great moments of droid fighters flying above you, and if you look around, you can even find the droids trying to kill some of the local wildlife. Oh god, look at that hopping animation. So later in the level, the droids begin to try and block the bridge with AATs to stop us from getting to the nearby starfighter hangar. Like a few AATs can actually stop us. Missile, 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 missile. Now this is where Battle for Naboo really begins to stand apart from Rogue Squadron. The ability to swap vehicles in the middle of missions allowed for some really interesting level designs, and on a couple levels you even get a chance to choose if you wish to play through the entire mission entirely on land or in the air, with both being very viable options, which really helps with the replayability of the game. However, as cool as that might be, there is one problem that really plagues the vehicles in this game, and that is the variety, or lack thereof. Unlike Rogue Squadron, the variety of starfighters is pretty much non-existent here. You start with the Naboo police cruiser, which is just a slower and weaker version of the Naboo starfighter, or N1 for short, and besides the N1, the only other fighter you eventually get is a bomber for just one mission. And again, it pretty much has the exact same design features as well, which sure makes sense considering it is all on the same planet, but it just makes the game's variety for starfighters pretty lackluster. With all that being said, however, being able to switch between land and air fluidly mid-mission was a pretty groundbreaking feature, and to be honest, I don't think it was ever really done as well in any of the future Rogue Squadron sequels that were released later on. So having you hop in the starfighter near the end of the second mission and flying it into the swamps on your own was a pretty good way of introducing this new mechanic to players, and really blew my mind when I first played it as a kid.
About time help arrived. Identify yourself. I'm Rohan Waitai. This is my village that's burning. Save us! Help! Defend the houseboat while my people try to escape into the swamp.
You know, I gotta be honest, I don't think I've ever thought about houseboats when thinking about Star Wars, but with it being Naboo, I guess it kinda works. Either way, with this being the first air mission, it still kinda acts as a tutorial level, giving you an opportunity to learn the starfighter controls around slow-moving and more distracted enemies. The objective here is pretty simple, just defend the crazy swamp people of Naboo from the droid bombers and boats. And yes, I said boats, which is always kinda weird to think about in Star Wars, but I don't know, Rogue Squadron also had boats in it, so I guess it's not too uncommon. This is also the first level that really begins to show off the power of that new game engine, with the new weather effects that again might look kinda simple by today's standards, but for the time were pretty amazing to see, especially on the Nintendo 64. Now unfortunately, one of the negative things about the game is the overall flight controls, and it's not that they're bad, and not by any stretch of the imagination, they're actually quite good compared to many games of the era. However, compared to Rogue Squadron, it does seem to have some issues. And I know some people will probably say, oh, well, it's a different game engine, it's not supposed to feel exactly the same, and I get it. However, Rogue Squadron had such excellent controls that were just so smooth and great to play on. It's pretty noticeable switching over to Battle for Naboo and fighting like hell sometimes just to line up my crosshairs.
Good work, Captain. You and your lieutenant are well trained. Now, how can we help you? We're looking for able pilots and soldiers to fight the Trade Federation. We're just simple traders, but I've heard rumors about a smuggler in the mountains north of here. Maybe he can provide some assistance. Sir, we're closing in on our smuggler friend.
I doubt he'll be happy to see us.
I agree. Stay alert.
So, like all Star Wars properties, at some point we have to meet up with some smugglers.
My fighter is damaged.
Head to the next security hangar. You'll find a speeder there.
So there's actually a really cool part about this level towards the beginning of it. After being shot down and swapping out for your speeder, you actually come across a homestead under attack. And if you want, you can actually just breeze on by and continue on with the main objective. However, if you do decide to help them out, a nice old man will hop in his speeder and unlock the gate for you so you can grab yourself another bonus.
Great work, officer. Follow me. I have something to show you. It isn't much, but I hope it helps.
Oh, it most certainly will. Now, one of the more messed up parts about the level, however, is as you go forward, you'll start seeing more and more farmers just being slaughtered by the droids. And when you ask your captain for permission to actually save the civilians, your captain will literally just tell you, fuck it, let them die.
Captain, requesting permission to rescue those civilians.
You can't fight them all. Move on.
Eventually we make it to the smugglers and oh no, they are pinned down by AATs on the ridgeline. Whatever will they do?
Nice shot, Naboo boy.
Barbara wishes to speak to our savior.
Oh, fantastic, it's a Hutt. Because, I mean, we all know there is no species more trustworthy in Star Wars than the Hutts.
Captain Kale, what are your orders?
Stick close to me and follow the Hutt back to his base.
What if he's leading us into a trap?
It's a risk I'm willing to take. The Hutt might have the weapons we need to recapture Seed.
Ooh, look at that snowfall effect. They're really pushing that Nintendo 64 to its limits. Now, towards the beginning of the level, you're given the choice to either enter the hangar to help defend the Hutt ship from the air, or continue in the speeder, taking out ground AA guns and tanks. The best choice will almost always be the air, however, it can be a lot of fun just to play through the same level from just a new perspective.
We're under attack!
We're running low on towers. We need some protection. Ah! Where's my cover? Help me out here.
Oh damn, I forgot. The Hutts can actually die. Oh well, restart.
Captain Kale, what are your orders?
So yeah, your job is to pretty much defend the smuggler ship and clear out minefields until you reach the main base. And when you get there, actually one of the Hutt's pilots decides to hop on in their own ship to help us out. Damn, look at that generic early 2000s sci-fi ship. I mean, to be honest, I kind of like the way the smuggler ships look. Unfortunately, there's no way to pilot one in the game, which really seems like a missed opportunity, but oh well, they're neat looking fighters. We move on to take out the remainder of the droid forces at the base while trying not to glitch ourselves into the ground. Oh my god, I do not want to die like this. And at the end, we locate some N1 starfighters to finally upgrade our forces with. Look at his little legs run.
Captain Kale here. Listen up. We've located a Trade Federation comm satellite. If we can destroy it, we'll temporarily deactivate one of the Trade Federation bases on Naboo.
So now that we have some actual firepower, it's time we actually start fighting back. First by figuring out a way to free the prisoners that the droid army has taken during this entire invasion. But to do so, we first need to actually take out a communication satellite so we can get into one of their bases undetected. And I got to be honest, this really might be the worst mission in the game. It adds little to nothing to the story, and more importantly, it's just not fun. It's literally just taking out 3 shield satellites before going on to take out an even bigger satellite, which wouldn't be too bad, except for the fact that each shield satellite takes out pretty much all your missiles to destroy, really just dragging out the mission for no reason. It's almost like they had some other ideas for the level, but just forgot to put them in, so they just kind of figured, fuck it, just up the health on the satellites and call it a day. It's one of the only space missions in the game, so kids will love it no matter what. Well, I got news for you. 7-year-old me hated this mission, and near 30-year-old me still hates it. It's just really lazy and just unoriginal. Fortunately, the next level starts getting things a bit more back on track.
We're on our way.
With the Trade Federation's comweb down, we have a short time to attack a sleeping base and capture a gunboat. We need to get in and out before the base is reactivated. Destroy anything and everything that belongs to the Trade Federation.
So after knocking out the communication relay, we move to sneak inside of a droid naval base. Now, I've never understood why, in a world where hover tech exists, boats would even be considered for warfare, but as someone who grew up near a bunch of naval bases, I've always kind of really enjoyed seeing sci-fi navy combat. Now, for the most part, this level is pretty simple and straightforward. You know, just fly on in, blow everything up, destroy a bunch of turrets, destroy a bunch of boats, destroy a bunch of buildings, and For the most part, yeah, it's pretty simple. However, it does serve to set up one of the more interesting levels of the game. Near the end of the level, you'll get a chance to fly into one of their hangars and actually hijack a gunboat of your own. And I have to say, I really do enjoy the design of it. Something about its shape and the way its turrets sit, I don't know, it just really screams like early 2000s sci-fi, and I just love the way it looks.
We have visitors. Keep going. The Trade Federation will think you're a Nemoidian escaping. They shouldn't follow. We'll rendezvous later.
Captain Kale, this is Lieutenant Sykes reporting in. I'm on the river and heading upstream.
So many people I've talked to really hate this level, and you know what? I get it to a certain point. The boat controls are mediocre at best, and the beginning of the mission is pretty boring, to be honest. But story-wise, it's a pretty cool idea. Sneaking through the swamp until you find a POW camp to liberate. And interestingly enough, if you freak out and shoot down the droid starfighter at the beginning, the camp will actually be on full alert when you arrive, with turrets and gunboats just firing right at you. However, if you stay calm and just continue to move forward nice and slowly, you'll actually be able to sneak in and get the jump on them first.
This is Sykes. I freed the camp, but there are a lot of civilians that still need rides out of here.
Good job, Lieutenant. The Hutt has prepped some transports. We're on our way.
It's good to see Borvo the Hutt living up to his end of the bargain, sending over some transports to help pick those prisoners up, because you know what? Those Hutts make for such great allies who can just always be trusted. So as Borvo rescues the prisoners from the first camp, we go ahead and move on to the second one. This one is a little bit larger than the first, but still not really that big of a deal. But unfortunately, we find out that Borvo just doesn't have any more transports to spare, making it our responsibility now to escort the civilians back to safety.
We're done here. Transport should be on the way.
Not quite, Gavin. I just received a message from Adela. The Hutt can't spare another transport.
Okay, I'll get this convoy to the ruins. Let's move.
I copy. I'm on my way. What's the plan, Lieutenant?
We'll rendezvous with Kale at the ruins, but first I need to abandon this boat. I have visual on Farentina, Ved. The ruins are just north of the village.
The Trade Federation!
Easy, Ved.
They really utilize a lot of destructible environments in this game. I'm not sure if young me really just appreciated just how impressive it was for them to accomplish all of this on the N64. So with the river blocked, we have to escort them the rest of the way by land, which has us ditching our boat for the good old N1, while the houseboats pile into some land speeders. Cool part is actually if you fly around the map a little bit, you can actually find some civilians trapped in town that you're actually able to save. And if you veer off course a little more in the canyon, you're actually able to find a completely wide open area with, what do you know, another bonus.
Lieutenant, where are you? We're taking heavy fire! We ain't gonna make it! Stop me happening! It's all over!
Stop killing them, you jackasses! My god, these droids really just love slaughtering helpless civilians, I swear. Luckily, after the remaining speeders make it through, we're able to block off the entrance to the canyon and meet up at our rendezvous.
Those Trade Federation drones won't find us here! I'm picking up one of our fighters coming in. Lieutenant Sykes, this is Lieutenant Hollis. By the Queen, I'm glad to see you.
What happened, Hollis?
We were ambushed.
Where's Captain Kale?
I'm not sure. I was separated from the Hutt's transports, but I think he went down. I'm sorry, sir.
Don't worry, Hollis. I'm sure the captain survived. Let's find him before the Trade Federation does.
Oh yeah, I'm sure the captain's just fine. I mean, if something were to happen to him, he has Borvo the Hutt there. I mean, Borvo would gladly help him out, I'm sure.
Your orders, Lieutenant.
Separate and recon the area. If Kale went down, we're going to locate him.
So yeah, we're back in an area similar to where we actually first met Borvo. And look, there he is. Told you the Hutts were completely trustworthy, nothing to worry about. Wait, where's he going? And what the hell is all this?
This is Lieutenant Sykes. Who's in charge here?
Back off! This is a legal operation.
Where's Captain Kale?
This base is programmed to defend itself. This is your last warning.
Not until I get some answers.
So all because I ask a question, they start shooting, even though I literally just saved their asses. Yeah, something tells me this place isn't entirely on the up and up. Now, the game doesn't do a great job at explaining this, so I'm just going to go ahead and point this out now. It turns out that Borvo has been illegally mining relics from the planet this entire time, and has now started using our rescued citizens as slaves in their little operation. So yeah, turns out Borvo is not really that good of a guy. I mean, he's not really a guy in the first place, he's a slug, but still, I mean, who would have actually guessed that a Hutt of all races would have ever double-crossed us?
Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Sykes, the base is still operational, and we don't know where Kale is yet.
That'll stop him.
Lieutenant Sykes, I've located the Captain Starfighter. It doesn't look good.
I have you on my sensors. I'm on my way.
Now that we've actually shut down this whole mining outpost, we better go ahead and find the captain as quickly as possible. Oh great, more bombers and AATs. God, do they really want that captain dead.
You, Lieutenant?
Captain Kale! Are you all right, sir?
Sykes, the Hutt betrayed us.
And the rescued prisoners?
He'll use them as slaves. Rescue them. Good luck.
I'm sorry, I know it's supposed to be an emotional scene, but that last is just such a phoned-in line.
Ved, this is Lieutenant Sykes. I need a location on the Hutt ship. He's killed the captain, and he still has some of our people held hostage.
Sykes, we've spotted the Hutt, heading toward Porto Hill.
I'm on my way. I have enemy fighters on my scopes.
Lieutenant Sykes, cease your approach! We will open fire!
Your boss killed my captain and enslaved my people. He will be brought to justice.
Damn straight. Let's kill some bitches. Good lord. Oh man, their screams are awful.
Sykes! Check your fire!
Kolkata, stay out of my way. I'm bringing the Hutt down.
Relax! I'm not here to knock you around. I want to help stop the Hutt.
What? Why?
I'm no slaver. Resign! We haven't shut down the Trade Federation yet.
Hey, it's Mr. Gruff Voice, and apparently he's not a total dick like Borvo. And hey look, another bonus. Yoink.
Sykes, you've survived. Borvo is impressed.
Cut the chatter, Adela. The Hutt's going to pay for his crimes.
Borvo likes your spirit, Sykes. He offers you a place at his side.
I don't take bribes. Now sit down.
Nice knowing you, soldier boy. Open fire!
I gotta say, this fight is actually pretty cool, and far better of a boss fight than the Moff Certain fight in Rogue Squadron, I mean that's for sure. To be honest, even though the fight with Borvo is 3/4 through the main game, the level really does kind of feel like the end of a game in some ways. probably due to the amazing episode 1 soundtrack just blaring in the background. But like most boss fights in these kind of games, it's pretty much just pump them full of lasers until they die. But the good part is, you have tons of turrets all around you firing missiles, tons of enemy fighters flying around, and of course, seeing this massive ship just roam around in the arena is a pretty cool sight to see.
Nice job, Lieutenant.
Thanks! Thanks for the air cover. We have him on the run.
Good work, Naboo boy. You saved your people, and Orville's limping back to now Hutt.
Unfortunately, even after stopping Borvo's entire operations here on the planet, he does manage to escape, and we just really don't have the ability to go and hunt him down because, well, we still got a planet to save. The good part is that it's time for our path to finally cross into the movie.
Everyone form on me. Cole has his recon report. Listen up.
The prison camps are located in this area, and we have information that Camp 4 lies somewhere north of this valley.
Let's head out and rescue our people.
So because we're in desperate need of pilots, we decide to mount another daring prison break, this time liberating Camp 4. And if that actually sounds familiar, that's because that's actually the camp that Captain Panaka briefly mentions in episode 1.
What is the situation?
Almost everyone's in camps. A few hundred police and guards have formed an underground resistance movement. I brought back as many of the leaders as I could.
See? He's talking about us. The liberation of Camp 4 is actually one of my favorite missions in the game. It starts off in the air, seeing a glimpse of some of the work camps, and has you stop a few squads of bombers from killing the remaining farmers who have yet to flee the area. You can also just pull a Captain Kale and decide, fuck them, leave them to die.
Why aren't we being protected? Guys! Our homes!
Eventually, we manage to secure an enemy hangar and commandeer a SCAP so we can actually try and sneak into the work camps. Okay, just remain calm. Smile and wave. Smile and wave.
Halt. Where are your prisoners? Enemy in the compound.
Fuck, that didn't take long. One of the things I really like about this level is that they really went all out on its design. Going up a cliff face and then into a small canyon with just everything shooting at you, it really makes you feel overwhelmed, like you really just kicked the hornet's nest. As you go through the canyon, the goal is to free and protect as many prisoners as possible, which can be pretty demanding with all the enemies around. However, here is where you also get access to the Gain Speeder, a heavy vehicle with twin laser cannons and an infinite power laser that can frankly just take out most enemies pretty quickly. The level also has a couple neat features in it, like blowing up the barrels to destroy a prison wall so you can get to the POWs on the other side, and seeing of course their little sprites rush to get into their speeders is always just kind of funny to see. As you make it to the exit of the camp, the droids will actually lock everything down to trap you in this small confined area, leaving you alone as multiple AATs just keep flooding in. Which really wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the fact that you're still stuck having to defend all these POWs and their useless land speeders. Luckily, after you take on a few AATs, one of your teammates will actually fly on in and actually blow up the wall for you to take out the shield generators for the main gate, which is really just a neat moment to see happen. Getting a chance to see what we were just accustomed to doing in Rogue Squadron, but from a different perspective, is just a great idea that I really wish more of the land levels had implemented as well as this one, because this really is probably the highlight of the ground combat in my opinion. Now before we go, let's just slide on over here to get yet another bonus, and we are out of here.
Thanks for your help, Sykes. I don't know how much longer we could have... This is Captain Panaka of the Royal Security Forces on the RSS emergency frequency. All officers receiving this transmission are ordered to meet at Rayska Hill. Panaka? Maybe he can get us organized.
We need to locate him first. Let's move.
Hey, it's good old Panaka, everyone's favorite guard that just disappeared after episode 1 for whatever reason. So with him back in town, we figure why not work our way over to him through some droids and find out what exactly he's got planned.
Lieutenant Sykes, glad you made it. been well trained.
Thank you, sir. What's the plan?
The Queen has returned, and we're ready to take back Naboo. I'm bringing all the Resistance leaders to meet with her. Send your troops to the South Ridge, then follow me.
Head to the South Ridge and await further orders.
Copy that. We'll see you soon, Lieutenant. Rejoin your forces and guard Feed's rear entrance until I give the attack signal. According to our scouts, the Trade Federation doesn't have the entrance covered, but I'm not taking any chances. If you encounter trouble, contact me on the secure emergency frequency. Good luck, Sykes.
We'll cover your back, Captain. You have my word.
So it looks like we're being incorporated into their sneak attack on the city. But first, we need to actually stop a convoy from intercepting our forces. And damn does this game just love showing off their destructible environments. So with the way blocked off, there's only one solution: to take to the air. But this time, finally in something besides the N1. Okay, I both like and kinda despise the way this thing looks. I mean, it is a bomber, so I get why they made it so wide, but it just really looks like they just kinda combined two N1s together to make it. I mean, it's just such a safe design choice, if you know what I mean. I mean, why not go for something that looks just a little bit different? I don't know, I mean, it looks good, it just seems kinda lazy is all. Luckily, it does control pretty well, and if you're wondering why they actually gave us a bomber of all things, well, strange enough, this is the only time in the game we actually ever get to see the MTT.
For the Queen!
Lieutenant, we've spotted a bridge ahead of the Trade Federation forces. We're planting thermal detonators to destroy it, but you need to slow down that convoy.
Slow down the convoy? Oh, however will I do it?
We're on our way.
Timber!
This is Lieutenant Sykes. All diversion forces head toward the nearest canal crossing. We'll form into teams on the other side. You have permission to blast any droids you spot.
Get it fast and hard!
So here we are, finally on the home stretch, returning to where it all began, the streets of Thebes. And you know what? Why don't we do this last mission in style? Alright, there we go. Like all Factor 5 games, there's always a cheat for a Buick. The Buick is actually the car of sound designer Rudolf Stendar, put in as a cheat code for pretty much all Factor 5 games at this point, and in this case actually has all the same stats as the Gain Speeder. The Streets of Thebes is a pretty straightforward level, mostly just speeding through and saving some pinned down pilots and guarding some commandos so they can blow open a door for us to get near the palace. And by guarding, I mean sitting here while they do it because, well, we've already killed everything before they even got here. Hey look, we're at that one scene in the movie. You know what? I should probably do this right. Let's switch vehicles. That's better.
Stop there, Lieutenant. Prepare to fire. Aim just below the main turret. Make your first shot count. Ready, fire.
All troops on engage.
We've been spotted. Engage! Engage! Take out those tanks. What are you waiting for, Lieutenant? Fire! Great shot, sight. Now everyone, get to the hangar.
They even had the AAT shoot down one of the pilots like in the movie.
This is Bravo Leader. All wings prepare to attack.
Here we are, the ending we all knew was coming. The assault on the Trade Federation control ship. And holy shit, that's a lot of fighters. So as you might expect, the mission starts with us taking out waves of droid starfighters, which isn't too bad if you already have the upgrade for things like homing missiles. If not, then yeah, it can be probably a little frustrating, but still not too bad. The only problem is that in space, especially with these graphics, it can be kind of hard to actually see the droid starfighters themselves. But after we shoot down the last one, we can finally make our way over to the control ship.
counting on us down there. We must take out that droid control ship.
Look at the size of that thing!
Jesus, Gavin, calm down. I mean, all we have to do is fly inside and take it out.
A tractor's nabbed me. I need some help here. I can't escape. Where's my cover?
Hold on.
Ah!
Oh, well damn. I guess we're going to be doing something different then.
Attack the tractor beam generators. Initiating attack.
That got him.
So you might be wondering, since Anakin is the one who's supposed to destroy the ship, what the hell do we do? Well, first we take out those pesky tractor beams, triggering the dialogue informing us that, hey, someone just accidentally flew right into the hangar.
Bravo leader, one of our fighters just flew into the hangar.
I copy. Buy him some time to escape. And nobody else try that stunt.
What do you mean no one else tried that? That seems like a great idea. We should all be flying into the hangar. I mean, come on, who's with me? So after taking out the tractor beam, we work on destroying the shield generator on the back of the ship, which isn't actually too hard to do unless you were an idiot like me and actually picked up the homing rockets bonus back when we took on Borvo the Hutt. You see, as nice as having homing rockets are for individual enemies, they really kind of suck for any environmental features you actually need to destroy, since most of them just can't be locked onto. So if you have your original missiles, you can just unload away and frankly take it out pretty quickly. Otherwise, you'll be stuck with only using your blasters like me. So I do want to quickly point out just how cool it was flying around this Trade Federation ship back then. I mean, up to this point, the largest thing we really got to fight, I guess, would have been the World Devastators back in Rogue Squadron, which, don't get me wrong, they were awesome and overall gameplay-wise, probably superior to this. However, just environmentally, this was so cool just to fly around. I mean, going between the radar dishes, avoiding their laser cannons with droid starfighters flying all around you, and you being able to kind of go underneath or around or above or however the hell you want to deal with it. It was just a really fun experience to have as a kid, and even now, it still does have its charm.
Form up. That did it. Now we could cause some real damage.
What's that? It's blowing up from the inside.
Whoa, look at that thing blow! Look, one valve out of the main hold. Amazing effort, everyone! This is Captain Panaka to Bravo Flight. Great work, crew. The Trade Federation Army is out of commission. Naboo is finally free.
So yeah, that's it. After taking out the shield generator on the ship, Anakin blows it up from the inside and we fly on back home. Overall, the campaign is a pretty good experience with a far better story than any of the Rogue Squadron games. But like the Rogue Squadron games, the missions don't actually end here. You actually get a chance to unlock bonus levels based on the medals you receive throughout the main campaign. For getting all bronze medals, you unlock the level Trade Federation Secrets, where you defend a base from waves of droids until evac eventually shows up. To be honest, it's really just kind of a playtesting level, giving you a chance just to play around with things and see how all the enemies kind of react, but it's a nice little addition to just kill some time in. For getting all silver, which is as high as I could ever make it as a kid, you unlock a pretty neat level called Coruscant Encounter, where you get a chance to fly through the skyscrapers of Coruscant trying to shoot down Darth Maul with the Duel of the Fates music just blaring in the background. Now if you didn't pick up the homing missiles before, then this can really be a pain in the ass, but with the homing missiles, you can literally shoot him down in less than a minute.
Wipe them out. All of them.
And for the grand finale, for getting all gold medals on every level, or by typing in cheat codes, you unlock the dark side. In this level, you play as Darth Maul, just slaughtering the Naboo forces in just a horrible fashion. You first start in the farmlands before actually moving directly into the swamps, killing pilots and civilians alike, which is pretty messed up for an early Star Wars game like this. I mean, the screams of them dying just seem like a little much. Oh my god, that last one was Sykes. The level goes on quite a while like this, giving you plenty of chances just to slaughter the native Nabooians? Whatever. The native population of the planet of Naboo. Now if only they actually added in some Gungans to the mix, that would make that level just almost perfect. I also do want to point out, similar to how Rogue Squadron had secret vehicles you could use with cheats, Battle for Naboo also has a few as well. You can unlock the AAT, which feels surprisingly good to control, almost like it was probably meant at some point to be used in the main game, but was cut for whatever reason. You also get the Buick, as you've already seen, and you even get a chance to use Darth Maul's ship throughout the main campaign, which is just absolutely devastating. Battle for Naboo really might be the most forgotten Star Wars game out there. I mean, for the most part, whenever I talk about Star Wars games, people of course always know about Knights of the Old Republic, Rogue Squadron, Force Unleashed, hell, they even know about Dark Forces. However, whenever I mention Battle for Naboo, they kind of scratch their heads wondering what the hell was that even for? Which I kind of find to be a little bit of a shame, to be honest, because you can clearly see the love that Factor 5 actually put into this game, despite knowing that it would be overshadowed pretty soon after. It's kind of because of this that I wanted to make this video in the first place, as a way to hopefully show off some of the positive qualities of this game that made up such a large part of my childhood. Now, is it as good as Rogue Squadron? Probably not. However, it's still a very well made game and one that I highly recommend people giving a try. Either way, I want to thank you all so much for watching. I know this is definitely a longer video than normal, however I hope you have enjoyed it at least at some point. And if you have, let me know in the comments below. Plus, if you really want to see the difference between Rogue Squadron and Battle for Naboo, you can check out my Rogue Squadron video over here to the left. Or, of course, whatever you two might be recommending over here to my right. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to be seeing y'all again real soon. Peace.